right. Well, Secretary of State Antony Blinken holding a call with China's foreign minister this morning ahead of his expected trip to Beijing on Sunday. China's foreign minister urging the U.S. to, quote, stop interfering in China's internal affairs and to show respect to Beijing's core concerns like Taiwan. Joining me now, former Deputy National Security Advisor, American Conservative Union board member, and author of Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People, KT McFarland. KT, good morning.
It's always a pleasure, and particularly to have a conversation after your lovely conversation about how many drinks a day. Let's talk about how many drinks a day that an American Secretary of State is going to have when he goes to China. Zero, because it's not going to be a nice trip.
Yeah, no, let's talk about that. What do you foresee happening here?
Okay, so here's what happened. So the American Secretary of State has been kind of implying that he was going to go to China anytime. He's been implying that for months. And the Chinese have basically said no. And now they've had a conversation over the phone, Chinese Foreign Minister, American Secretary of State, where the Chinese Foreign Minister lectured the American Secretary of State. So now the American Secretary of State is going to travel to Beijing. What's going to happen? He's going to get lectured and humiliated again. He ought to cancel the trip. You know, the Chinese have done an awful lot of stuff in the last 6 weeks to humiliate the United States, to show they're threatening the United States economically, technologically, militarily. So why is the American Secretary of State going? He thinks, so they say, the official reason is they say, well, we're going to have open lines of communication. You don't need to have that at the top level. You don't need to reward China for its behavior. Have a lower level official go. They all have each other's phone numbers. There's no reason for the American Secretary of State to give an honor to the Chinese foreign minister by going to visit.
You know, KT, Maria many times on this program has questioned why this administration has not been tougher on China. In fact, she says it's been the opposite. We seem to be kowtowing to China. Why do you think this is happening right now?
You know, I think it's a lot of reasons. I wouldn't rule out the fact that there's a certain amount of financial compromise of the President Biden and his whole family with the Chinese. But the other thing is that the Chinese have paid for the think tank that the Biden administration officials, when they left the Obama administration, all those officials went to a certain think tank, the Penn Biden Center, paid for by China. And now all those same officials, including President Biden and the Secretary of State, they're all in the Biden administration. They have every intention of going back to that same paid for by China think tank when they leave. So part of it is also just the compromise that they've made, I think, in their own integrity. But at the end of the day, the Biden administration does not see China as a threat. They see them as a competitor, but they don't see them as a military threat.
Sometimes they seem to see them
when the Chinese are saying.
Sometimes they seem to see them as a partner, as a friend. That's exactly what exactly. Yeah. And it's really disturbing because they, you know, the one China policy, I mean, they have no interest in being partners with us. They want to overtake us economically. They want to take over Taiwan. From a military perspective, 1,000%, KT, we agree. I want to move on to Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary. She claimed yesterday it's in the best interest of the U.S. to maintain economic ties with China. And this is during a House Financial Services Committee hearing. I want you to watch this.
It would be disastrous for us to attempt to decouple from China. De-risk, yes. Decouple, absolutely not. China benefits from its purchases from us, and we benefit from our ability to export from China. Our competition with China, healthy competition, and while we surely have concerns that need to be addressed, decoupling would be a big mistake.
KT, your reaction to those comments?
You know, I think it's irresponsible not to decouple in a lot of national security related areas. For example, in the Trump administration, when the coronavirus, COVID, started spreading around the world, and President Trump said, well, that's come from China. That's the Wuhan virus or the China virus. You know what the Chinese did? They called the United States, they called the White House, and they said, don't you dare do that. Don't you dare call it a China virus. Don't you dare say that it came from a Chinese lab. Because guess what? We make all of your pharmaceuticals. We make all of your acetaminophen. We make a lot of your amoxicillin and your antibiotics. And we're going to cut that trade next year unless you stop humiliating China. Well, what a weapon China has against us, where they can hold our American healthcare industry hostage to anything that they decide to hold it hostage to. And that's just one area. You know, the national security area. So lithium, a lot of the component parts to American military equipment is made in China. A lot of the other things that are critical to our national infrastructure are made in China. Those are the areas where it's irresponsible not to decouple, because we have put ourselves in a position where China can blackmail us over these things that we need to survive. Now, if they want to trade lower level stuff, that's just fine.
Absolutely.
But this higher level stuff that affects the nation's security, we got to get out of there.
Yeah. Before I let you go, KT, real quick, Russian President Vladimir Putin admitting that Moscow has lost 54 tanks during Ukraine's counteroffensive, which just started last week. President Biden approving a 40th military aid package for Ukraine. This is another $325 million. We've now sent more than $40 billion since Russia's invasion last February. What do you make of the support to the Ukrainians and where we're at with this war?
You know, first of all, the number is probably much higher when you add in a lot of the other kinds of assistance we've given Ukraine. We're paying for both sides of this war. We're paying for the side where we're supplying Ukraine, and President Biden has said whatever you need for as long as you need it. But at the same time, we're really paying for Russia's war, too. Because of Biden's war on American fossil fuels, fossil fuel prices, particularly oil, have gone up. Now, what is Russia using to pay for that war? Those high energy prices. So the United States, by stopping American energy production, stopping American exports of oil and natural gas, not only does it hurt our own economy, but it gives Russia a windfall of profits that they're paying for this war. So we're in a war of attrition right now. And maybe one side gets a little and the other side gets a little, and one side makes a threat, the other side makes some threats. At the end of the day, if you want to stop the war in Ukraine on our terms, bankrupt Russia. That is how President Reagan won the Cold War, and that is how we could win the Ukraine war on our terms.
Yeah, and KT, to your point, we've seen multiple reports the Russians are basically hiding oil in tankers, disguising these tankers, and that's how they're shipping out oil and making money. So, we're not stopping it. KT McFarland, great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Cheryl.
All right.
Thank you.